Hello and welcome to the Adventure Fit Club podcast. The Adventure Fit Club is all about helping you get stronger, pain-free, and more confident so you can be fit for every adventure. I am Coach Meg Walker, and with me, I have a soon to be, very soon, seven-star major marathon finisher on top of already being a two times six-star major marathon finisher and running legend, Mr. David Yim, or Yimmy, as we well know him. Hello, hello.
Hey Meg, always good to see you. Always excited to do these episodes with you. And I can't believe how fast weeks are flying by
Goodness
because
me.
only a couple of weeks ago, just after I came back from Sydney, we did the Berlin top-up
Yeah,
episode. Then I ran Berlin 3 weeks after Sydney. Then, sort of like 3 weeks after Berlin is Chicago.
yeah. And we might as well have a sleep and then we're going to be filming New York.
I know. Then we're doing the New York episode, which is 3 weeks after that, and it's like, wow, the autumn season of major marathons just seems to be just flying by.
Absolutely. We can't film the stuff fast enough.
I
And
know.
speaking of Berlin, that was a hot one, my friend. Congratulations to you. That was a tough Berlin this year.
Oh, you know what? The slowest marathon I've ever run. But you know what? I'm super proud of getting the 26.2 miles done, or 42.195K, as the Germans like to refer to it
If you're
as.
following right.
We are in Europe after all, right? So it's all measured in kms, right? Which is one of the reasons, actually, I get a question quite often when I do my flat day. People often ask me, why do I wear two watches?
Hmm.
And I wear my pink wristbanded Garmin watch on one wrist, and then I actually have my spare watch, which is actually my eldest's old watch before he upgraded his Garmin. And I actually have two watches, and people often ask me why. And it's because of these European races. Because, as you know, I do the mile by mile dedications.
Yep.
And, you know, I forgot my secondary watch last year, and I was running with one of our teammates, Emily, and I was driving her bonkers while I was trying to do the 1.61 times table, trying to work out when my mile videos needed to be done because I'd forgotten my watch. So the answer is I measure my pace and my jeffing interval with one watch, which is my main watch, which is in kilometers, and I have to have mile markers measured by my alternative watch. But
But
I tell
poor
you what,
Emily's like, a marathon's hard enough, Yimmy. I don't like no maths class on top, please.
do you know what? She got her own back because she was doing like she was playing her playlist in her Shocks earphones, and she was going, "Oh, I really like this one," and I was going like, What have you seen?" And she was referring to the Britney megamix that was going on. She'll kill me for saying it, right, on a podcast. But yes, it was like the Britney megamix, and she was singing along to it. But
What a
more
pair.
seriously, coming back to this year, so hard, Meg, so hard. I mean, I think it was 25 degrees when we started because we started quite late. And, by 5K, I was chugging my first gel, thinking like my legs are not working today.
Lot of heavy legs at the start of that race.
And then by the time I got halfway, it was only at halfway when I suddenly the clouds came over and it started to spit. And it's amazing the weather change can make so much difference, just not being in that direct sunlight. And I ended up, my legs came back to me and I got my second wind, or maybe it was my third wind, or maybe it was my 15th wind. I don't
Who
know.
knows at that point?
My legs came back to me. But by then, my running partner, she was beginning to struggle then. So it was like she supported me for the first half of the race. And then I was then supporting her for the next half of the race. And you know what? I said to her, I'm not going to go anywhere. I promised I would run this race with you. And I ran all the way to the end. And I know that I was strong at the end because I even had a moment where I ran backwards down the finish line, filming Diger running towards the finish line.
That is something else, my friend.
It was brilliant because it had the Brandenburg Gate behind her, and it was just amazing to have shared that moment with her. But it meant that actually my legs are actually fine now, and I'm feeling quite strong and recovered. Only having it was only a week ago, when I ran Berlin. But yeah, it was hard fought miles, definitely.
Yeah, good. I was like, we're gonna have to change our three words this year. It's flat, fast, and freaking hot. It's- I think it's fair to say this year.
Uh, I think I would definitely have to agree with you on all of those.
Yeah, that's 2025 people will update the words for you.
Do you know what, though? We're going to have to do an updated episode because, of course, we did say there was going to be a big change.
We did the
And
expo.
the Expo. There's something, I mean, you and I have both run Berlin before, and there was something about that Tempelhof airport and the flow of all of it. I mean, it was massive, Meg.
Yeah.
We can cover it in detail on the episode, so
The
I won't spoil it
nostalgia
now.
of it. No, we'll definitely do. Also, I for photos, I was like, the building looks pretty epic. Like
Ah,
lots of iconic on the steps with the Messe Berlin. I was like,
yeah,
fair play to that. They've got some good photo opportunities out of
fair
that.
play. And I have to say the merch was better this year as well. I mean, last year's
Great.
jacket was one of those really, the material was horrible. It felt like, you sweat in it just wearing it on a cold day. But the material was much better this year, and it actually was very similar design jacket to the Boston jacket. And the
Nice.
best thing of which was, and anyone who's got a Berlin jacket, um, you reach into the left-hand pocket, and I found this with my Boston jacket. There's this strange sort of like strap of material. And actually, when you play around with it, you actually find that you can turn the whole thing inside out and stuff it into the pocket. And the next
Fun.
thing you know, you've actually got a pack
There you go.
and the strap on the back was actually so you can strap it to your running belt so you can actually tie it to you.
As if we couldn't get any more insufferable as runners, we've now got a Packermat jacket that we can bring everywhere with us. Like, oh, sorry, better get this out. It was the only one I had that was convenient. As if we didn't need any more excuse to accidentally wear the merch.
Fear
Love
not,
that.
fear not, it's just started raining. It's okay because I've
I've
got
got I've got my Packermat.
I've
No,
got a
normally I
pack
would have
back.
ordered something more subtle, but I just had to. Oh, did I run Berlin? Yes, I did. I'm so glad you asked.
Sorry. Sorry, it's got this lurid pink sort of
Yeah.
detailing, making it obvious that I ran the Berlin Marathon.
Oh, you didn't ask. Well, I'll
Oh,
ask
you didn't
you
ask.
anyway. Yeah.
Sorry. I
Whilst
thought
we're
you
on the
might be
topic,
interested.
let me talk about. Did you know I run a marathon? Love it. Love it. Hear that, other majors? There you go. Pack-a-mac time.
But I have to say though, Meg, even though I'm very proud of this medal, which I'm showing up to the screen for anyone watching on YouTube, I'm even more proud of this little medal here.
Me too. If I could, I don't think I could have liked any more of your stories. Running the mile with your youngest son. Oh, that
Yeah.
was just the best. That made me all teary and emotional for you. I was so happy about that.
Do you know what? We signed up to the Westminster Mile, and there needs to be more events. I know there's the mini marathon for the London Marathon and stuff, but this was just magical. I mean, taking my youngest out on his first mass participation event, having the full race day experience of, the backdrop, the start line warm up, even using a portaloo, which he said, "Ooh, they're not in great condition, are they,
He's
Dad?"
been
And I was like,
initiated. He's fully been
exactly.
initiated now. Welcome, son. This is where the world ends.
And I did have to say to him, of course, I had to say to him, there's a photographer coming up. Put your arms up in the air and put a smile on your face. And of course, he complied. And we've got some great race day photos from the event and him crossing the finish line with me together. And it was a magical moment, Meg. And that's what life's about, actually. I'm actually more proud of the Westminster Mile medal that I'm holding than I am of the Berlin Marathon
Oh, I
medal that I'm
believe it.
holding.
I believe it. That's what it's all about. And
Yeah,
important to say actually, because we're us running folks are insufferable. I have another podcast called My Kind of People, which Yumi went on. So look for David Yim episode. I heard that again recently, and it made me smile so much because we filmed that actually a few years back.
yeah.
And you were so. this was before all of the majors and all of that stuff. And you were talking about your journey and your why, and such a big why was, for your kids. So
Mm,
having known you, we were talking before we started filming this episode, having known you for so long, knowing what your why was, where you started, to see you run with your youngest in that mile, I was like, oh, that just made my heart burst, because I know for you, that's what it's all
yeah,
about.
yeah.
So awesome, awesome. So there's no rest. There's no rest for you, because we're now going to be
No.
talking all about Chicago. We wanted to start off and talk about some of the exciting things you've been up to, but let's focus now on the Windy City. We ran this together in 2022. We
Yeah,
had the best time. Fantastic weekend all around. That was another hot one as well, actually. And this year, Sunday, 12th of October, we're ready to do it again, and you will be there.
I will be there running it for the third time. I'm actually running it again with my running partner that I ran with last year, Diger, and I also ran Berlin. I ran Paris with her earlier this year. I ran Sydney with her. It looks like I'm doing all the majors
Yeah,
with her. But you know what? I was saying to her, this is probably my second favorite marathon of the six
I believe
original
it. We
majors,
had
of
a
the
great
seven
weekend.
majors.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking about it now, I've had the chance to sort of process. I mean, the big shock news there is that New York, which was right at the bottom, is now maybe third.
Yeah, that was your redemption race.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm really excited to do the New York episode when we get to it, Meg. But Chicago, since we ran it together, since I ran it with Diger last year, we did say it was flat, fast, and friendly.
We did. We did.
And actually, it's the friendly races that I really, really like. It's that whole sort of camaraderie, the whole weekend. You're surrounded by people who are just so supportive. The whole city comes out, like a bit like Boston, actually, where people are, very welcoming of the runners, and it's such a great atmosphere. And the support last year was actually even better than the support when we ran it together in 2022. And I'll talk a little bit about that. The 5 mile drag that you have through Old Town this year was actually this last year was actually a lot better and much better supported than in 22.
I love that. I love to hear that. And that's something we've said all along. Like, if you're new to the podcast, if you go on the Adventure Fit Club and type in the search bar, Chicago, New York,
Mm,
Boston, whatever race you're going to do, you'll find we've done a massive episode on every single one now, apart from Sydney, that'll be coming up this year, where you can hear literally everything from travel to whatever, and then
yeah,
top up episodes since. And something we've always said about Chicago, it really is at the top for being accommodating, right?
yeah,
So friendly, so accommodating, so generous, to the point that all weekend locals to Chicago are literally crossing the road to come and say, well done, like
yeah.
congratulations, that's
Love that.
amazing. And it just makes you feel so special. So
Love that.
yeah, Chicago has got a big place in our hearts. I'm excited for you to go back and see what this year's got to hold for you. And that's what today's episode is all about, giving you the key details, key tips for this year's race. So should we get cracking with
Yeah,
it?
let's do it. Let's
And
do it.
normally we dive right in with the Expo.
You know why I like talking about the expo is because I love talking about merch, right?
I
And
Mr. Merch, Magpie here.
yeah, I mean the expo again is on. The times are very same as last year. In
Yep.
fact, if you've listened to the main episode, it's on Thursday the 9th from 11 till 6, and then Friday and Saturday, the 10th and the 11th of October, it's on from 9 till 6. And it's one of the best organized expos that I've been to. The Abbott Health and Fitness Expo, in
McCormick
fact.
Place.
McCormick Place, which actually is a bit of a challenge to get to train wise because the transportation system can be a bit of a challenge. You've just got to plan it.
Yeah.
But as we said in the main episode, go and hang out in your hotel lobby, looking like a runner,
Yeah.
and find three friends and share an Uber down there. I mean, I did it again last year and it was really, really easy and it was really good fun and you get to meet some people. But again, one of the things you get to this conference center and it's massive. You're walking along this big sort of corridor up the escalators onto the next level, and then you cross this bridge.
It's a big glass
Yeah.
walkway bridge, isn't it? It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's like a hump. And as you're walking over this crest of this hump, you see the signs up saying the Abbott Health and Fitness Expo, and you're thinking like, "Wow, this is it." And then there's some volunteers who are welcoming you down there. You get through the airport style security. They do have some. Don't take big bags, I would say. It's my
Yeah,
my
agreed.
advice.
Yeah.
It can be pretty busy and lots of people. So just take a small rucksack or whatever, but they will search your bags, airport like security, stick it through the X-ray machine while you walk through like this X-ray thing, the scanner. And then of course you need your start card,
Yep.
which they sent to you with
Mhm.
your start details and your
That's
corral. You should have that on your dashboard now, and you can download that ticket. And then you also need to take some photo ID. And do you remember? I mean, it happened again last year, and it made me think of you, and it made me smile. Do you remember the whole deal when you go and check in first, Meg,
Oh
before you go and get
yeah.
before you get your bib?
I'll let you tell it. But yeah.
So you go there, and there's this like a person with an iPad sort of says they check your ID and they check your packet pickup ticket, your QR code, and they scan that and then they tell you which desk to go. Now you
Hmm.
have to go to a particular desk, but luckily for you, they tell you like, you know, David Jim, desk 51, and you stroll over to the desk, and just as you approach the desk, the volunteers go, "Hey, David,
Yeah.
hi," and you're like, "What?
It's like being
What?"
in Abercrombie and Fitch, isn't it? It's like, how's it
Honestly,
going?
it's such a nice touch that they know your name, and the first time you do it, you think, "Eh?
Yeah,
How
you're like, then you're just like, what is this magic? And then you feel really silly when you're like, oh yeah.
They've just checked you in. They know you're coming."
Uh,
But super efficient. You get this envelope. That's it. And in the envelope, you've got your bib, you've got your pins, and then you've got to go inside to the main
yeah.
Abbott's place to go and get your bag and your t-shirt, your event t-shirt, which is normally right at the back of the hall. By the way, it was again right at the back of the hall.
Yeah.
So
A
they
bit of a
make you
walk.
walk through. Yeah, they make you walk through all the merch first,
Yeah,
right?
just accidentally on purpose. You
You
know.
know, it's like going to IKEA, and you can't just go to the sort of like, you have to walk through the showroom before you get to the marketplace. When the marketplace is where you want to go,
Yeah.
but they make you
But
walk through the showroom, yeah?
what if we accidentally walked through all of these carefully set up rooms and merchandise?
And it is so good though, because it's all in one room.
Yeah.
The packet pickups outside in sort of like an ante hall, and then the main hall. It's all there, and you've got a mixture of merch. You've got Nike stand there. You've got Bank of America, which are their sort of title sponsor. They've got a massive stand there, and of course, you go over there, and if you give them your email address, they give you a free gift.
Hmm.
What a great way of getting your contact details. You give up some data.
But I love that probably all year round. So many people be so precious that I'm not giving my email out. Tell
Yeah.
a bunch of runners you're going to get a free gift and you're in a merchandise hall. Take it. In fact, I'll
And
give you all three of mine.
and I and I tell you what it is. It's one of those little kettlebell things with Bank of
Yes.
America on and with
Hmm.
Chicago Marathon on it, which are cool. They come in red, white, and blue. Really, really good fun. Bank of America. You go there. Abbott have usually got their stand there, and last year they did have their full 6-star. Well, it's a bit of controversy now because what they're doing is because there's so many original 6-star finishers,
You're running
they're
out of
only
walls.
including the names of the people who've earned their 6 stars in the last two races.
Which, I mean, yeah, I get the controversy, but if you're running out of wall, you're running out of wall. We've got
Gonna
some
need
big, we've got some big expo centers, but the wall's not fitting.
gonna need a bigger wall.
Unfortunately, it's because your name's on it probably about 10 times now. Short fat guy doesn't stop running the majors. Sorry, guys. You go look at the wall and it's just David Jim, David.
Oh no, it's so funny. I mean, I did actually, and they actually do have the names of all the 6-star hopefuls. I keep
Yes.
saying 6 star because they're still calling it the 6 star. 6 star is the original
Yeah,
six. But I should say not the original, it's the legacy six, because don't forget, Tokyo wasn't a part of the original
it wasn't.
stars, six
No.
stars until it was the most recent. I think it was
Hmm.
2012. I seem to remember it was. And it's still way before I was ever interested in any of this stuff. But Abbott are there. They sell all their own merch now, which is quite funny. And then you have Fleet Feet who are like a local big chain merchandiser, sports retailer in the US. And the thing I love about Fleet is they bring they all
Fleet
bring
feet.
all
Get
the
it?
Fleet Feet. They bring all of the other brands. So Saucony, Hoka, they have all, Adidas shoes, etc. They bring all the other brands. So you actually got one of the best selections of merch there. If you don't like all the Nike stuff, and Nike are the apparel sponsor
Yeah,
for
the
the
official sponsor
Chicago,
for the race.
Chicago Marathon.
Mhm.
But I remember when I went with you, actually, there was the Saucony Endorphin Speed 3s were out, and they had a Chicago edition in the blue.
They did, yeah. I just saw Yumi's eyes. It was like something out of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. His eyes just went, ba. He just suddenly started gravitating away from me,
Oh, and
magnetized towards these shoes.
oh, good grief. And they had
It's an
all
illness, everybody.
And they had like UFOs were there, Shocks were there. They had all the big brands, all the people you would expect to have. Gatorade were there, of course. You can taste the Gatorade drink, the sports drink that they actually have, the formula they use, the endurance formula they use on the track, on the course. And of course, the top tip is you get the bag for your drop bag at the expo, and what you then do is you fill that bag with all those freebies
You
that you
do.
get.
This is something we talked about in the big episode 104. Oh my goodness. I was set for the year. You would have thought I'd won. You see on these game shows where they're like, you've won a lifetime supply of protein bars. I couldn't turn them down. I just kept getting handed them.
I'm still
So
laughing
generous.
now. It was like stockpiling. People stockpile toilet rolls during COVID. You stockpiled protein
Oh,
bars.
I was getting embarrassed at one point because they've just people started handing them. And it's interesting, right? Because a lot of expos you go, and more now, like there's nothing for free at
No.
a lot of them. You buy everything. And we were amazed because the amount of stores where we actually had tried something, liked it, and was like, great, could we actually buy some of that? And they were like, no, you
That was
can't buy it.
unreal. That was
And we were
unreal. You
like,
had to go
huh?
somewhere else. They told you where to go and buy it, but they weren't actually selling it at the expo, which was incredible. But you've got to wade through all of that to get to the end wall where
Yeah.
you get your event shirt. Now you do get the event shirt, and the event shirt. I remember it was actually another green
Oh
on black
yeah, yeah,
thing.
it was quite snazzy actually, wasn't it? But it was almost like mesh. It was a weird one.
It was so nice. I wore it as an undershirt and threw it away and regretted it. I regret it to this day because it was actually the nicest Chicago shirt that I've had, and I wore it as an undershirt because it was cold at the start. And I threw it away. Remember the whole strip show thing? You're gonna have to watch or listen
Yeah.
to episode 104 for that. Um, and I regret it now because the orange finisher shirt was not very nice at all.
Yeah, which was a shame. And it's annoyingly it's in my wardrobe at the moment, but it was like a mesh Chicago
Yeah,
marathon, exactly like your Tokyo one right now, actually. Same
yeah.
colors, really nice one. So have they revealed what it looks like this year?
I haven't seen it. They have revealed the official merch, which I've got to say Nike have done quite a nice job of this year.
Nice.
The singlets and the t-shirts look really, really nice. Mind you, last year's singlet was really, really
I
nice.
like it.
But it was one of those singlets that has, I can't believe I'm saying this, first world problems, had really, really like deep armholes and it came sort of like down. So
Oh,
if you
okay.
were if you were really quite sort of built
Yeah.
at the top. If you were Henny,
Yeah.
right, you'd look all right in it. But people like me don't look good in singlets like that,
No.
right? So
I would not.
so I didn't buy the thing. But I would say though, my top tip for for the merch, which I know you want to talk about where to get the merch this year because there are more
I
options.
will, yeah.
I thought the cheekiest thing they did last year with the merch, the Nike merch, bearing in mind Nike only sponsor one of the majors, and it's Chicago.
This is a
It
top tip, people.
it feels like they don't really make a massive effort with it, but that last year they seem to have upped their game.
Hmm.
So everyone was piling into the Nike concession in the Expo, and it was like a zoo in there. I mean, I bought one thing. I think I queued for 45 minutes for it. Maybe even nearly an hour for one thing that I was buying for somebody else, and it wasn't even for me. And I then said to myself, I'm not going to buy myself a jacket. I'm not going to buy myself any merch from there.
Where have we
Saturday
heard that before?
afternoon. Well, exactly, because I thought, you know what, I don't really, I've got my one shirt that says, finisher, Chicago finisher, just to add to the collection of shirts that I don't actually wear. Um, I went with a friend. I went with a friend Nikki, to who I know from running London with. We went to the Nike store in town, and Saturday afternoon, suddenly they brought out another jacket.
Which
I mean,
unheard of, the cheekiness.
shock, horror. Everyone had bought these Chicago jackets. Now, bear in mind that they didn't have one the year we ran it. And then last year they came out with this purple Chicago jacket. Meg, you'd have laughed because it reminded me of those 90s shell suits.
Oh yeah.
It was
Like
it was
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air style.
Oh my God. It was I mean, some people love it, right?
Yeah.
But it was it
It
was it
wasn't the
was
look you were going for.
no, I I had sort of like horrible flashbacks of these really, so sorry to use this term, but really chavvy purple shell suit thing. And I refused to buy one. And then I went to the Nike store and they just started bringing out Saturday afternoon these finisher jackets. And of course, there's Chicago Marathon and finisher on it. And of course, my friend twisted my arm
Oh yeah, I'm
into buying
sure.
it. She twisted my arm. I wasn't going to, and she
Probably
made me
by
do
about
it.
1 degree twist, and it was enough.
It did require a lot of
No, I
effort.
was gonna say she probably touched your arm, and you're like, okay, fine.
But that one also folded inside out.
Well, it's functional. That's what we tell the wife.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a pack of Mac that I also have next to the other pack of Mac.
Got a
Anyway, so
different.
look out.
There's some sort of different function. That must be somewhere.
Exactly. Look out for the different merch that comes out, the finisher range that comes out. But you said there were some new places to buy this stuff now.
There is. So, first of all, I want to make that like emphasis on what Yumi's just said, because that really, really is a top tip and it is going to happen again this year. They've made it official. It's been on the website. So, go to the expo by all means, get excited about the merch, but just bear in mind on Saturday they will be releasing official finishers merchandise, and that is going to be available at Nike Chicago, Nike.com, and in the Nike app only. Okay, so if you want official finisher merchandise on Saturday, October 11th, go there. But in addition to that, they are actually going to be having merchandise over the city. So if there's big queues at the expo, you can't get to where you want to go, maybe you're planning to go on the expo later in the weekend, you can go to Nike Chicago, the official store on Michigan Avenue. You've got Fleet Feet, you've got the South Loop and the Old Town store, Heartbreak Hill Running Company,
Yeah.
and also Dick's Sporting Goods across the town as well. So in terms of merch, I think that is the most available merch is across any of the majors, to be honest, and where you can get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But emphasis on what Yumi has said, there will be a finishers merchandise coming out on the Saturday. So if you are a magnet to merch like Yumi is at that expo, just bear in mind might want to save some pennies
Yeah.
for official merch coming out. But that official finishers merch will only be through the big Nike Chicago store online and the app.
Yeah, yeah, and the queues weren't horrific. It's on the Magnificent Mile. It's about 15 minutes from the Loop, which is the central downtown bit of Chicago, and you walk straight up, and
It was
Magnificent
quite near
Mile's where
your
all the shops
hotel,
are.
if I
Yeah,
remember. You were quite cushy there with where yours was.
yeah, that year, the first year that I stayed there, I stayed at the on just off the Magnificent Mile, and that was fine. Last time I stayed further into town. Actually, it was quite a nice short walk towards the start line, which actually meant it was actually a nice easy walk back from the finish line as well. Because obviously this is a loop race; it
Yeah.
starts and finishes in the same place.
Same with me. The year I did it, I was right near the finish line. It was easy breezy and
Yeah,
lovely. So if you're listening to this and you're maybe running in a future year, that's something to
yeah,
consider there. But that's the expo pretty much. Go enjoy yourself. I think the again, they in previous years, we'll see what they do this year. They might have bankrupted themselves at that rate. But in other years, they've been very, very generous in terms of giving out stuff. And important to note, genuinely, the year we did it, we actually couldn't buy some of the
yeah,
stuff they were advertising there. So just be prepared. You might have to go elsewhere.
yeah.
Also, a good time as well if you haven't done previously to pick up some of the stuff that you might be running with in the race. Just to, again, if you're planning to have like Gatorade on the course, etc., haven't tried it before, I would recommend when you get to Chicago picking up a bottle or two and trying some of that because we say nothing new on race day.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. Good advice.
Perfect. So let's talk next about a few little things in the lead up to the race. One that we have to mention because it is particularly iconic, this one is the 5 km, the Abbott Chicago 5 km race on the Saturday, the day before. You will have to you will have already definitely had to have your place because this sells out quick because what is it famous for, Yumi?
It's the bobble hat.
The
And
bubble hat.
I'm looking around to see where my bobble hat is after all that sort of palaver last year of getting my Chicago bobble hat. I actually don't know where it is. I
Because
don't know where it
we were
is.
a letdown. We neither of us booked
Mm.
it the year that we ran together in 22. Yumi was determined last year. It's like, no, I'm getting that bobble hat. It is a sight to see. On the Saturday, you just see it looks like most like the whole of Chicago are walking in these bobble hats around town.
And there's like you do get FOMO if you've not got one. I
You do.
mean, I don't think I'm going to be running it this year because one, I didn't get my skates on quick enough. But actually, you know what? The real reason is I'm actually doing the runners briefing for Sports Tours International, who I'm going
Exciting.
with this time round. As you know, I'm an ambassador for them, so I'm doing their Sports Tours runners briefing. So I'll be talking through mile by mile the course. And and even though it's starting later so that clients can get back from the 5K in time, I think last year I literally ran the 5K and then ran even faster to get to the hotel where they were doing the runners briefing to get there in time. So this year I think I'm going to get a lie in. I've got my bobble hat now, give the opportunity to other people to go and run it, but
Love
it
that.
is really, really good fun.
Yes.
And you do get to run a little bit around the loop um, and part of the course actually. So you do get to experience running on, particularly that bit where you come into town, where you're running towards the halfway mark on the marathon route. So that's really, really fun to do. It's really well attended. Lots of groups of friends do it together, and you get a really nice medal and a bobble hat to boot.
There we go. So, as I say, hopefully, if you're running this year, you would have had to already book that, but something to look forward to. Really, really great fun. If you are running in a future year, then something to consider if you like beyond that, because it does sell out really,
Yeah,
really fast. So, that's something to be on
yeah,
top of. Something else I wanted to mention, which is particularly helpful in terms of carb loading before the race, there is a Millennium Hall pasta dinner. So, if you haven't pre booked a restaurant for the race, something to consider is that there's basically a special pre-race pasta dinner in the heart of Millennium Park, set up by the marathon. It's designed with runners in mind and basically a way to get a good hearty bowl of pasta. You're surrounded by all of the iconic skyline and just nice fun energy before it. So the dinner, it runs from October 10th through October 12th. So if you haven't got somewhere in mind in terms of restaurant or somewhere in a book, that's just something that is
yeah.
on for all runners. Shall we talk about the getting into the race itself?
Yeah, let's do that because one of the most because I think the start line is easy because of two things.
Yeah.
One, it starts and finishes in the same place. So, and it's in the park. It's in Grant Park, which is you can't miss it. You walk
Yeah.
downtown, you get to the Bean, and you know it's there. And you'll
Mhm.
you'll have to listen to the full
Yeah.
episode to get our references of the
Yeah,
Bean.
exactly. We're a bit naughty on the other episode.
You were naughty on the other
I was, yeah,
episode.
that entirely fair. I've just thrown you into that, and that was absolutely me. So you, I'll behave myself. You have to go listen to 104.
Contain yourself. Contain
18
yourself.
plus, that one's
It
marked.
was. But because it's a grid as well, you're in downtown and it's in what's the area is called the Loop.
Yeah,
And because you're there and you've got lots of it's a grid formation in terms of the roads there. So it's really, really easy. You get your corral letter and they tell you which cross street to actually walk through to get to the entrance, which is closest to your corral.
yeah,
And each of the corrals has their own sort of backdrop area. And in the morning, you get there, you keep walking down Michigan Avenue until you find the cross street that you need to get into your corral. Don't try and get into the park too early because what will happen is you'll get into the actual start line area. You'll go through security, they'll let you in, but then you'll have to weave your way through a whole load of runners.
yeah.
Whereas they've closed down Michigan Avenue, so it's a big, wide, 3, 4 lane American Avenue, plenty of space for you to actually walk down, and it's easier to get to the cross street that you need. You then hang a left, assuming you're walking north to south, as a lot of people are staying in that sort of downtown area near the river. You walk down, you basically hang a left when you get to, I think it was Ida B. Wells, that was the year that when
Yeah.
we ran it. That was our cross street and it just takes you to the entrance to your security check, and before you know it, you're actually inside the park.
Yeah, I thought really, really well done because you're a mass of people flocking to it. There's all these entrances. You'd think it is going to get quite complicated, but as long as you know what is my corral, you go to it. There was a big old queue, but they get you through really quickly, including security checks, got you right
Yeah,
through. And I just thought really efficiently done.
yeah.
One thing I would say, the toilets were pretty busy for the certainly the year we did it. I don't know about last year if that's improved since, but same rules apply. Go all the way down. You'll find it's less queues as you go further along,
Bang on,
and
Meg.
certainly nowhere near as bad as Berlin or places like that. But the toilets are you standard queues.
Do you know what? I think that I just did a quick video on this when I was doing my on my Instagram stories last year, and it's on my highlights.
Hmm.
If you follow me, you can go into my stories from last year. My highlights from last year Chicago Marathon is on there. And there were some horrendous queues going down where the main corrals were. And actually, the queues were so long, they were impeding people trying to walk down to the next corrals, which is why I say walk down Michigan Avenue.
Yeah.
But actually, when we walked into, I think I was in K or L last year, and when I got to the corral, it was further down. There were more toilets there, so it was actually much easier to
Great.
queue up for those toilets. Again, you and I are saying it all the time, Meg. Just
Yeah.
just walk further down.
Yep.
You'll find a lot more toilets, and there were a lot less queues. So yeah,
100%. And also, just something to mention as well, because I get asked about it all the time. So it's one of the things we repeat. You cannot change your corral on
yes,
like start date. Your corral is your corral. In terms of starting time, though, and pen, you can never go earlier, but you can go
can go
backwards and
later.
drop back.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'd say it again because we repeat it a lot, but we still get asked. Okay, so you can take that as a staple for any race. You can't do an
yeah.
earlier time. You can go backwards. That's just
And
something
if
good to know.
in fact, that's what my running partner did last year. She was in the corral ahead of me, and she dropped back to my corral, and we started together. And it was really, really good fun. We started right at the back of the corral. But I think the other thing to mention, I've got to mention it again, of course, is starting the race is an early start. Now, which is the great advantage of Chicago. The first wave, the professionals go at 7:30, and the
Yeah,
first wave after that is wave one is at 7:35.
yeah,
So it's a super early start. Aim to get there an hour before, I would say, which does mean that you do have to plan your breakfasts
Yeah,
and what you're going
big
to
tip.
have for breakfast because a lot of places, a lot of hotels won't have opened their breakfast service until after you've needed to have left the hotel. So do think about that. I think the hostel you said that you stayed at,
Yeah,
there was a really nice spread that they put on. Otherwise, Dunkin' Donuts 24 hours is always an option as well.
yeah,
And just have some food ready. Remember, it's got very, very early start, but it is cold.
yeah.
It can be, we're talking October morning in Chicago. Both races got up into the sort of low 20s for the race. But when you start out, it can be 6 or 7 degrees in the morning. So
Yeah.
as I was, as I shared with you on that particular
As my
race,
my favorite one of them all that we've done with this.
by all means, take your nice jacket, which you're going to drop into your drop bag, and then put into the bag check. But don't be shy in going to the recycle bin and repurposing
Yeah.
somebody else's already cast off outerwear.
One person's trash is another person's treasure.
Absolutely. There's no shame in my game,
No,
right?
I think you had a lovely pink couture number the year that we did it. We looked like the Three Stooges going in those bins.
You know, it was, and it was still warm.
It was. Something you couldn't think about too much, but yes,
No,
absolutely. Like big, big tips there. And well, to be honest, we'll be saying exactly the same for New York,
yeah,
right? So for both Chicago, New York being early races, New York particularly so, our big tips there to round that up is think about your breakfast.
yeah,
Ask your hotel, ask your hostel, wherever you're staying, do they serve breakfast for runners in the morning?
yeah.
That's something to know. Both you and I have had opposite experiences of mine has, his hasn't. So again, think about then where you're going to source your food. Get that early if you need to, or check Dunkin' Donuts. In American races, that's usually always open. And then
Yeah.
yeah, think about either bringing old clothes that you can throw or donate, or don't, especially Chicago, don't be scared to have a little rummage.
Do you know what? If you're in a later wave, then I never had a problem with this because I was always in a later wave, being a mid to back of pack runner, and there was always cast offs there, and I just helped myself to a few things, and you stay warm for a bit, and then you're going to take it off. You're going to wear it for 20 minutes. You're going to take it off anyway. So don't worry about it. I mean,
I think it
I mean,
helps you, particularly now you're a running celebrity. You've got some disguises now. You need it. You can't come in your own clothes anymore.
oh no,
You see a guy
that's
walking around with seven hats and
that's
three
definitely
jackets on
that's like
and
Joey
shades.
out of Friends.
Yeah, literally. You saw Yumi, no, you didn't. And same rules apply. If you see him, give him a big hug, say hello, but no selfies in the toilet, kid. Or the bushes.
Yeah, that was quite scary. But
Yeah.
luckily, it didn't happen in Berlin this year, and I'll catch you up on that when we do the Berlin episode for next year.
Good, good.
Um,
But yeah,
but
like you said, early start time, wave one
yeah,
going at 7:35, and then you're pretty much going within 10 minutes, if that,
yeah,
following each other. The race itself is a limit of 6 hours, 30 minutes, which would be a 15-minute mile pace. And if you haven't finished by 4 p.m., then you do run the risk of not potentially not being recorded or
yeah,
published as official finisher. So
yeah,
that's really important. I think some of the others are very obvious with their sweepers. This one's not quite as obvious or brutal with the sweeper. Again, the Chicago, they're really, really friendly. But you still got to keep on that because you could possibly finish and realize that actually you've not been
that's
recorded.
it.
You're past that
I
time.
mean, the most brutal is Tokyo,
Yeah.
where they would drag the cones across. They had the broom bus this
Yeah.
year with the with in Berlin,
The
and I've got to
Volkswagen.
say, the heat this year meant that a lot of people didn't make that 30 km cutoff.
7,000, I believe, wasn't it? To
Yeah, I heard it was a
finish.
high number,
Unbelievable.
and a lot of people got swept up by the broom wagon. Chicago, I've never really heard about people being swept up. I think they do. They are quite kind in terms of just keeping the course open for you, but there is a time limit, of course. So just watch out for that, as you say.
I say it's not something to information, it's how you apply it, right? So none of
Yeah,
this stuff is said to scare you. It's all to just give you the best possible chance. Make sure you know the info, be excited. But if you've been doing your training,
yeah,
doing the best prep you could possibly do, then you're going to set yourself up to succeed
yeah,
as much as possible. Timing checkpoints for this one, you've got from the start line and then at each 5K
yeah,
and then at halfway point, and then the finish line. You've got your little thin tag
yeah.
device on the back of your bib. So that's going to give you your split times at those checkpoints. And you also do have digital clocks around the course, which is really helpful as well. Start line every 5 kilometers. And then, yeah, 5K along. Camelbacks and any type of hydration backpack are not permitted. I find
Correct.
Chicago is always an important one to mention this because it's just after Berlin, which Berlin's quite unusual because of the sustainability thing. They're actually quite generous with allowing you to do that. You can't do that for Chicago, I'm
Yeah,
afraid.
yeah. The American races are more strict with the US rules around
Yeah.
things over the shoulders effectively, and that's been the rule since after the Boston bombing.
Yeah. But you
But
can have fuel belts and then handhold water bottles.
yeah, I used it's one of the reasons why I moved to having a bottle belt, and I used two soft flasks, and you can get water aplenty, and
Yes.
Gatorade aplenty inside that start area as well. So
Um,
don't worry, because this is one of those races where there are 20 aid stations,
yes.
and it's one of the best races for aid stations in terms of signage, availability, and organization.
And they're
Paper cups.
basically every 1 to 2 miles. It's pretty
Yeah,
crazy.
for the first 8 miles, it's 1.5,
Hmm.
1.6 miles, and then it's essentially roughly every mile from there on till the end of the race. There's water and Gatorade both sides.
Yeah, lemon and lime Gatorade this year.
Oh, and it's really, really palatable stuff. It's not offensive to drink at all. It's not too sweet. What I loved about the aid stations was the signage, and you see the water signs, and then you see the G signs for the Gatorade, and they had on both sides of the road. So there was no need to crisscross the road to get Gatorade on one side, water on the other. They had, if I remember rightly, it was the water first, then the Gatorade on both sides, and the tables were really, really long. Everything's in paper cups, so get used to drinking out of the paper cups. I usually just pinch the top
Yeah.
and make a funnel, and I can drink it without it all splashing all over my face. And I use Tailwind as well, which means I'm using my bottles. But I do like the boost that I could get from getting some Gatorade from time to time. Um, Other things to note: the bananas
Yep.
between miles 20 to 23. There are three aid stations where there are bananas, and
Yeah.
they're just peeled, aren't they? They're really easy. They sort of cut them in half and they have them ready to go, and that's really, really great. And the other exciting thing is that there's
Your
Morton
favorite.
gels.
It really has become, oh, I love this. It was what kind of like a less known thing. And then it really is like so many marathons now, it's becoming the official gel, which
And
makes
and
you me a very happy man.
unlike Berlin, where there was only one gel station at 27.5, I think it was, there were
Wow.
three Morton's gel stations. One just before halfway before you cross the Wells Street Bridge, at 12.4 miles, and there's 15.7 miles. So as you've sort of like run over halfway, you've run through, and I'll point this out again later, you run through the sort of Charity Row, Charity Avenue, 15.7 miles and 18.1, where it still actually matters. You've got a another gel station there as well as you run through the University Village. There's quite a bit on the course as well. So actually grabbing a gel there and refuel, taking the opportunity to refuel might not be a bad thing.
No, absolutely. And you can have caffeinated and non-caffeinated
Yeah,
stops as well. So really, really appreciate them making the use of the sponsor and putting them available for you.
yeah,
And that's also a question that we get asked a lot about gels, right? Some people get on with them, some people don't. It's one of those things I'm always suggesting as a coach, like always practice in training. We say that a lot. Nothing new on race stage. See what works for you.
yeah.
But I always do get overwhelming feedback that people that want to do gels, tends to be very palatable and the one that a lot of people get on with. stomach wise. So,
The
and again,
one,
find what works
yeah,
for you, but it's a good one to try and start with for anyone who wants to get into gels.
just be prepared. The texture is not like any other gel.
No.
It's a hydrogel. It's actually only got 6 ingredients. I use them, and I've got a whole box full here ready to go for my next one. The hydrogel, it means it's like a jelly. It's not like a syrupy gel. So just be prepared for that. And I think on X Miles you can buy them singularly as well, which is great because it's really, really hard. So if you're in the UK, X Miles, I think it is .co.uk,
Yeah.
they sell that you can make up your own mixed bundle of gels. And if you're trying them for the first time, buy a couple of Mortons and just try them. They're not too sweet. They're specifically designed so that it's got more structure to it, so it doesn't cause upset tummy like the really syrupy gels sometimes do if you have too many of them. But it means that you do have to sort of like not chew, but you sort of like you
It's a bit
feel that
more effort.
texture in your mouth. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You feel that it's like having that that's like when you have jelly in ice cream when you're a kid. It's that just jelly texture rather than it being like a syrupy sort of like cough medicine type
Which
texture
to
that
add
some
that as well, I think that helps with the like again with the digestion. For
yeah,
gels, that you're actually meant to have them a little bit slower, whereas a lot of people will go straight down. And some people, if you well practice, you might be all right. But certainly if you're new to gels, well, you're meant to be having them a little bit slower. So I think
yeah,
actually on top of not only the ingredients are helpful, but the fact that it actually takes a little bit more effort to get down, it actually
that's it.
slows down the process as well. So
That's
just
it.
to be clear, we're not sponsored by them in any way, but I know
Just telling you how it is.
both of us get asked a lot about
Yeah,
gels, what are the best types, whatever. And we always say, see what works for you, practice with a few different ones, but usually Morton is a good
yeah,
place to start. And certainly if you're running Chicago and you want to be using the gels, definitely practice with
yeah,
them. I can't remember if we mentioned it yet, but BioFreeze is there as well. Pain relief zone, that is 21.2, and that is basically like that cooling spray gel just to help if you're feeling the pain at that point. They've got a little station there as well.
yeah. Listen to the main episode for our experiences of biofreeze.
Exactly. I think I was high running through the biofreeze part. But yeah, 104, big episode if you want to hear about that. And then yeah, medical support, fantastic. Again, that's available at 22 locations on across the route. And then you've got between and then addition you've got 20 along and then additional stations between mile 14 and 15
Yeah,
and in the final mile. Something as well I forgot to mention at the start of the race, I think is important. I'm not a mother, but Chicago pretty great at having a number of lactation stations at the start as well. And I just think the more accessible we can make for all kinds of runners, the better. And that's something
yeah,
that's important to note, if that is helpful for you. And
100%.
we'll talk about the course itself as well, but just something in terms of available at the end of the race. You do have the family and friend zone. So that's from letters A to Z. It's sort of stage across Butler Field. It's a big old field at
Yeah,
the 27-mile post-race party that runs basically right at the end. And that is another way you can finish and see your friends and family. It takes roughly about 30 plus minutes to get through that finish area.
yeah,
That's something valuable as well. Should we talk about the course?
yeah. Let's do that. I mean, this is. I think the first things I would say about the course is one of the flattest. It's actually the second flattest
It
course
is.
of the seven majors. Only Berlin is flatter, but it actually has a really, really nice sort of Berlin sort of feel. There are one or two little inclines as you go. There you do, I think, cross the river 5 or 6 times. I think there are 5 or 6 bridges, if I remember, but they're not like New York's bridges where they're big inclines and
No.
then sort of like big descents. They're pretty flat actually.
But what I
Um,
would say they've got, so they're probably the more challenging parts of the course in terms of most of it is flat, but these bridges, they usually try and put these big carpets on
yeah,
because they're a little bit of an uneven surface. But I would just be mindful you go across those bits quite a few times. If you imagine the amount of runners going across, carpets can move about a bit. Just be wary of your footing
yeah,
going across
yeah.
the
That's good
bridges, what I would
advice. Good
say.
advice, especially if it's wet as well. It's
Yeah.
it's, it's steel and iron bridges, so you're running on metal and it feels like you're running on a cattle grid. So stay on the carpets by all means. But you start off in Grant Park, and you're running on Columbus Avenue, and it's massive. You
Yeah.
know, they release the waves, all the corrals one at a time. And I would say if you're at the front, it's fine. If you're in the back, the first thing to watch out for as you're walking up to the start line is the carnage of clothing
Yes.
because people are just dropping stuff all over. My big plea to anyone listening to this who's running Chicago, it takes no time to run over to the side and just drop it over the railing, right?
And
Because
you come round a curve to go in there, so drop it off then, you
drop it
know?
off there. And even people dropping it off right at the last minute. And the most dangerous things to drop off on the ground are those foil blankets.
Yes.
So, top tip, I actually met a girl in the queue for the at Lululemon last year for the medal engraving. I ended up giving up on the queue. Long story, I won't go into it now. But she told me a story. She was a sort of like a blogger, a vlogger, and she was running her first marathon, and she DNF'd in Chicago the year before.
Bless her.
And the
Please
reason
don't
why
tell
she
me it's because she tripped over clothes.
Do you know what? She was so
No.
busy looking at her GoPro, she tripped over a foil blanket and broke her ankle
Oh,
in the first meter. She DNF'd with 1 meter.
that is absolutely gutting. That would have
Yeah.
been the blog of all blogs, wouldn't it? The
Yeah,
video.
she actually showed me the footage of her going down. She face planted and camera and everything went down. So just be careful. That first bit is everyone's really excited. If you are, doing recording things for Instagram or for YouTube or whatever, just pay a little bit of attention as you get to that start line. The countdown is there. It's really, really exciting. It's really, really wide on Columbus as well. Within the
I'd say one of the
first
biggest, certainly widest start lines
huge
out of the majors.
huge. And you can see actually it's on their Instagram. You can see all of the runners funneling down. And before you know it, you go underneath this big underpass.
Under and up.
And you go up, you go under, and you go out. And it opens out to about 10 lanes wide, this thing. And it's absolutely huge. And you've got so much space.
Yeah.
No sooner have you got over that, you cross over a bridge coming through the other side, and then you hang a left
Yes.
and you're on Grand Street and you're running through downtown. And essentially the first 3 miles, I would say, do not look at your watch
Yeah. Agreed.
because GPS is notoriously bad in the first 3 miles of this race. It's only when you sort of get onto LaSalle and you're running out of town and you cross the river again, that's when you can start really looking at your watch. I would take the auto lap off and just manually lap if you're looking at really pacing yourself, use the mile markers is my advice and just manually lap your watch, but just remember to do it, of
That's
course.
such good advice because I say it's unlike all of the other majors, Chicago, in that pretty much immediately you're in the city, which is
Yeah,
also another like don't look at your watch because it's not going to be accurate most likely. It's going to throw you off at that point. But also don't look at your watch there as well because it gets really exciting really quickly. And then a lot of the other races, you've got a bit more of a rural start, and then it takes a little while to get in the city. Like Yimi said, you go down, up, and then you're into that left, and you're immediately like, oh, like iconic big Chicago buildings. You feel that wind of the windy city. You're right in
exactly.
the thick of it straight away.
Exactly. You run down Grand, you hang a left, you're on State Street, you run down State Street, you cross over the river, and on the left-hand side is a nice sort of gentle slope downhill. On the left-hand side, there's the Chicago Theatre, right? And it's
Right.
absolutely wonderful. You see that, and if I missed it the first year we ran it because it was like,
I
I
swear
was too.
we've got even like a photo of it in the
I'm
background. I
sure we've
think.
actually got it. Last year I ran past it. And I'm like, why did I miss this last time?
Because you
And
were
then you
like,
get to
camera.
Then you get to the end of mile two, you hang a right into sort of Jackson Boulevard, and you get to the Exchange Building, and you hang a right. There's a Federal Exchange Building, and then you're onto LaSalle, and you're heading north again. Again, this is the bit where I'd say just don't pay attention to your watch. Stay on the right-hand side of the road here. There's a photographer on the right-hand side, and I've got photos from when I ran it with you, and I got it from photos from last year when I ran it with Diger, with the Exchange Building, the Federal Reserve Bank building behind,
It's a
and then you're
great
running
photo
north.
spot.
So I'd break the course down into four sections. The first section is the first 8 miles, and the first 3 miles I've just talked about. You're running up the South Street, and it's a couple of miles drag north, but all of the excitement of the race. There's lots of crowd. There's good support. Streets are wide. Watch out for those potholes, as we
Yes.
mentioned in the big series, in the big episode. You then get to sort of like a big BP garage, petrol station on the right, and there's a shimmy left, right, and then you're running up Stockton towards the park. And that's when you get to sort of like there is a memorial there, which is this big round building, which you'll see is the Elks National Memorial, and then you're into sort of Lincoln Park. Now, Lincoln Park's brilliant because suddenly the scenery changes, and I would say my advice here is just watch out. That road started off being sort of like 10 lanes wide.
Yeah.
It went to like 6 lanes wide, and then it gets to like 5 lanes
I remember
wide.
you were doing
And
that and trying to take your jumper off.
yeah,
Yes,
I was trying to take my, yeah, it's exactly that. Exactly. This is where Elks National Memorial was where I did the strip show, and I took my undershirt off, and you were holding my vest, and I was
I know,
like,
as a
oh,
little
it was
assistant.
trying to protect my I was trying to
His
be modest.
modesty, yeah. A little
But you,
makeshift cape.
but once you do this sort, you see this right and this left on the course, and you're in the park, and suddenly it's like a wide park pathway. It's like a 2 lane road. It's not a massive road, so it does get a bit congested at the front. Where I was at the back, it wasn't too bad, but you do run into the park, and then you run past the conservatory, which is this beautiful sort of like glass building on the right hand side. It is really, really nice to look at. And again, you've got like loads of things just to keep your eyes peeled on.
I would
Um
say quickly as well before we move further on, the reason like you were taking, we had the little strip show there, is depending what the weather's like on the day, when you go into the thick of it right at the start there, you've got those first 3 miles, you're in the big buildings, right? You've got a bit of a
mm,
wind tunnel. Once you get out into that smaller space in the park area, you've got less of that shade of the building,
yeah.
less of that wind tunnel. So just be wary, depending what the weather's like on the day. That might be where, if you're wearing some layers and it's a bit colder early on, that's if depending if the weather's nice, that's where it could start to heat up a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's just something to think about.
I would say once you exit the park, you sort of like onto the inner lake shore drive, and on the right hand side, really enjoy the views of the
Yeah.
lake. It's beautiful, but it is quite exposed there. So if it's a sunny day, you're gonna feel the sun there. And then there's a left turn into Sheridan Road, and that marks the end. You're coming up to the mile 8 marker there, and that marks the end of what I call the first section, which I call the interesting bit.
Yeah. Agreed.
You then the second bit is then what I call the sort of the grind. And it is 8 miles to halfway. And basically you turn left at mile 8 marker, you run down Broadway, you're running down through some little sort of like towns that were like the little mini like the little districts in themselves. You run down Broadway, you're into Clark Street, and then you're into Sedgwick Street. And it's basically from 8 to mile 11. It's a straight line down there. It's fairly light commercial, some residential, and you're running through the old town. And by the time you get to mile 11, you're into the old town triangle, so the proper old town. And that bit last year, the year we ran it was really quiet in terms of support, and it was light commercial.
Yeah.
This year, last year when I ran it, that was brilliant. It was
Love
like
it. Yeah.
so many people that I didn't even notice when I get to North Avenue, where I turn left and then you turn right, and then you're into Old Town, and you see the buildings change, and you get those beautiful brick buildings,
Mm,
those residential
really
houses.
nice. Yeah, like architecture there.
So nice. And that's where the dogs are. Sometimes
Yes.
people are out with their dogs.
That's another point about Chicago. Probably the most dogs I saw on court. I hope they're there again. Lots of these dogs had handwritten signs to come give them a hug.
Absolutely. You're into Wells Street then from mile 11 and 12. that street is where things start to change and the commercial gets more, it gets busier and busier, and you get to see you're running back into the city now. Look up and you'll see the skyscrapers as you're running back in towards town. You hit the Morton's jail station around 12.4, and then you cross the Wells Street Bridge. Now, this one for me is special because the bridge, it's like it's a metal bridge that you cross over and you get all the light coming through there. You've got Merchandise Mart, which is this beautiful, big warehousey sort of building on the right hand side. You won't actually see it while you're on the bridge. It's only when you cross over the bridge and you hang a right to run towards the loop, the West Loop. When you look over the water, you will see it. And that it indicates that you're coming to the halfway point. You run into the West Loop and then you get to the halfway point, and then it's a right turn over a bridge. And that's where there's a lot of support in that West Loop area. Really, really nice. Then suddenly the crowd thins out a bit and it goes a little bit quiet for about half a mile. And then you get a sort of like end of mile 15, and suddenly you're into like the charity
Yeah.
row, which is
Kind of almost like hits you out of nowhere,
incredible.
doesn't it? Yeah.
Right. And this section, so you've had the mile 8 to 13 where you've had the grind, where it's very, very samey. You just got to grind out the 3 miles. You do
Bit
the
more
left, the
exposed.
right.
Yeah.
You start to see it start getting interesting again. You get all the excitement of getting to halfway. Then you're into like the next bit, which is essentially from mile 14 to mile 22. And I call this bit the
Yeah.
hoods, right? And I love this bit because it's
It's
lots of
such a
really, really
wild card, this bit, to be honest.
it's actually one of those bits where you run quite straight. There's not lots of turns, but
Mhm.
you run on straights for quite a while. So mile 14, there's about a mile and a half's worth of running from mile 14 to 15 and a half, which is about 25K. And you turn round and you come back on yourself. And there's Greek Town, there's Little Italy that you run through, and then you run through sort of like the University Village area, which is the only really quiet bit on the course, I would
I
say. It
would
was
agree with
quiet.
that.
It was, remember, we ran through them. I think like we were both really melting at that stage. And again last year when I ran through it, I remember doing the dedication videos and thinking like, God, it's quiet here. And it was only for about a mile, mile and a half or so where it went a bit quiet. There is a gel station there, so you can pick up a gel. And then you sort of like turn left and you run past the 30K mark. Now, the 30K mark special because you see there's a big medical district on your right hand side. There's like big hospitals and stuff, but there's like a big there's a map that you run over with 30K markers, and there's usually people on the crane with the photographers are on the crane.
Yeah.
So get your arms up in the air as you run over the blue mat, and you get your really, really nice photo of you crossing the 30K marker. Then you hang a left onto 18th Street. You're heading back to my one of my favorite bits, which is Pilsen.
Yes.
And Pilsen is just another level, I would
Like
say.
a life of
It's
its own.
Oh, it's a Hispanic area. I mean, there's like beer shots, tequila shots.
Like Pilsen, it's like the Pilsen party is what I would say. That's where they bring the energy every time.
Great way of describing it, actually. You run through the 20-mile marker, and then you sort of like run down and you just do this like sharp left thing, and there's this long drag. I would say that between 20 and 21, you're already beginning to feel it now. That is quite a long drag before you start seeing the signs start to change. It's quite industrial down there. Support not as busy in terms of crowd support along that 20 end of mile 21. You cross the bridge and then you see the signs start to change, and
Yeah.
lots of Chinese signs, and you'll know you're coming into Chinatown.
Which is
uh,
one of my favorite bits. Mr. YouTube over here, like Mr. Vlogger, got so excited, saw this incredible dragon. We talk about it on the big episode as well. Like you know when the way I can describe it is, you know those moments where you think someone's waving at you and they're not, and you go all out. That Yumi had that moment with a person dressed up as a Chinese dragon. He went all over. If you imagine as well, you're almost at the end of the race, your legs are tired. He put all this energy to go like high five a dragon, and he got completely and utterly let down, didn't they? They just took the dragon seal off.
I'll say nothing more on that. You'll have to watch the episode or listen to the episode to learn more about that. It
Oh
wasn't my
dear.
finest
But
moment.
Chinatown still, we loved Chinatown.
Chinatown's
Good
great, and
fun.
you do a right turn, high five the crowd on the left hand side. It does get quite, it feels like the crowd's really, really bunching in there. So just watch your footing, look at where, make sure you find your space. You're running down there and the sun's shining in your face. You get down past the 35K marker and you into sort of like a sharp left turn at mile 22. And I would say that finishes the hoods.
Yes.
About a quarter of a mile later, you can run past the 22-mile marker. You're a quarter of a mile later, you get to the last bit, which I call the switchback, right? Now, this is the bit where you're tired, you might it might be warm, and you come out of like 22 or 22 and a quarter miles, and you see the switchback on the other side.
Yeah, it's not the worst of the switchbacks in the majors. There's
No,
worse ones, but the placement of it is what
yes,
makes it hard.
yes, 100%. I would say when you see the switchback to when you get to the switchback, don't go looking for the switchback.
Yeah,
It's
you got a while. Spoiler alert.
it's about three quarters of a mile down Michigan Avenue before you get to the switchback, and you sort of you run through the mile 23 marker. It's one block over, and then it's like you literally go across one block, and then you come back up Indiana
Quite
Avenue.
disorientating, isn't it?
It can be, but do know that when you see a medical station. When you get to the switchback, you do a left turn, you see a medical station, and that's where I normally shout, one park run to go.
Yes.
And it really is one park run to go. You do run one block over, you run up India Avenue, and then it's a shimmy.
Shimmy,
It's
shimmy,
all I can
shimmy.
describe
Yimmy,
it as.
yimmy,
Just
yimmy.
as you get to the 24-mile marker, it's a yimmy shimmy. It's left and right. You're off Indiana into Michigan. And from then, it's a straight shot, right?
Yes, and it
And
gets
you
big
see the
again.
runners, it goes big again, super wide avenue, Michigan Avenue. And you know you're going to run through the 25-mile marker. You run past a whole load of shops and stuff, gets big retail, crowds start really building. Strange the year I ran it, the year I ran it with you, and also last year as well. The crowd were all on the left and the runners were all on the right.
Yeah,
Bizarre.
like they felt we had to remember we had to run all the way over to get the like high
Yeah,
five,
high
hype
five
the
people.
crowd up.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of crowd, but because it's big, like a big open road again, and you're actually completely different sides. I think
that's
that,
it.
and also again, it's back to the windy city. You've got the big wind from the buildings. It can drown them out a little bit, I think. So just
I
be
think
aware
you're
if you
right.
want some support, they're on the left.
Yeah, and actually last year the wind started building up, the storm started building up. It was
Yeah,
sunny all the way round till we got to that last bit, and then it's suddenly like
it's
there
really
was this.
drafty that bit.
Do you know what? It was freaky because when we finished last year, then the sign started getting blown over and stuff. It was like a sudden gust of wind. Anyway, you're running up for basically 2 miles on Michigan Avenue from miles 24 to the end of mile 25. And then you hang a right into Roosevelt Road, aka Roosevelt Hill,
The
aka
hill.
Mount Roosevelt.
Again, not the worst, not the biggest of hills out of the majors, but the placement of it is what makes it
Evil.
interesting. It's right before the finish. You got a cute little hill.
It's I actually went and took a photo of it. I've got it for the sports tours briefing. It's not big. It's like 2.5, 3%. It's 250
If you
meters.
saw it on a normal day, you'd be like, what are you talking
Yeah,
about? But
exactly.
when you're as right near the finish, ready to go, that finish line is you taste it and you suddenly got a hill. That's where it gets interesting.
God,
And
you
this
have
was
to listen
Yumi's
to the episode.
Titanic moment.
Oh my God. I'm
Leave me
still
on
in.
this ship. Leave me on this hill.
Did you see I did a video for you when I ran
I
past it
did. I
last year?
loved it. So yeah, if you listen to 104, we go into plenty of anecdotes, but we're giving you a teaser. You have to listen to that to hear
Absolutely.
Yimmy's iconic Chicago Marathon moment.
And then you've got 385 yards to go. So when you see that mile 26 sign, as you're running up Roosevelt Hill, actually there's photographers on the left and the right as
Yeah.
you ran out. I got some great photos up there last year as we stomped up the hill. And as when you, of course, when you turn left, that's when you wipe the snot, the sweat, the tears from your face because there are cameras all the way down the finish line. Find your space, get
To
your arms up in the
I
air.
can't remember if we had opposing views on this, but for me, Chicago Marathon, apart from obviously you've got the little hill right before it, but for me, it was actually like the kindest finish line in that when you suddenly see it and then
Yeah,
you're there. It just
yeah.
felt very quick. Of one, as soon as you set your eyes on it, you really not you're boom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's actually about the same distance as the London finish line.
But it felt, I don't know, maybe it just felt closer to me. So
Yeah, yeah,
obviously same distance, but I think because you've got the grandstands at London, you're going
yeah,
past, you've got the big screens, you're going past Buckingham Palace. I feel like the build up's there and you're like trying to get it.
yeah,
Chicago,
yeah.
maybe because you're distracted by the last minute hill, it kind of felt all of a sudden you're over the hill and then boom, it's right in front of you and off you
You're
go.
right, actually. You're right. And I remember it was like we sprinted down there, you and I ran it, and similar last year when I ran it with Diger, we just ran straight down the finish. The finish line was just a super kind finish line. And then you're over the line and that's it, 26.2 miles off the Chicago Marathon. You're back to where you started.
That is the beauty of the loop race. When you get to that
Oh,
finish and you're like, oh, my bag is where I left
so
it.
good. Your bag is exactly where you left it. They're really quick with the medals.
Yeah.
They're good with the heat sheets, the bananas. And then they also had last year a special beer brew. The local
I feel
brewery.
like they had that the year we did it, but maybe you had to like you had to go to like a van or something for it. But
It was. I remember having these yellow cans last year, and it was really nice beer.
yum.
And it was actually better than the
Was it
Erdinger.
alcohol free?
Yeah, no, no, it was an
Oh,
alcoholic
real
beer.
beer? Oh, there you go.
You had to be 21 to get one.
Yeah. Give me that.
Give me two.
Jimmy's looking after the youngsters as we go along. I'll take that for you.
And then you're back into the finish line area. Your bag's exactly where you left it. You talked about mile 27
Yeah.
earlier on in terms of the finish line
That's where it
area, but
started.
actually, if you walk down into the park and you'll see a whole row of toilets. If you go behind there, I think I mentioned it on the main episode as well. There's almost like a separate part to the park, and it was almost like we had your own little area to go and do your stretches, obviously, because that's what
Hmm.
you do
Yes.
after a race before you do your selfies. And I did my stretches there and called home and stuff just to let people know I was alive. So, yeah, really kind course, really kind start, really kind finish. As I said,
Very
ignore your
generous
G,
expo.
very generous, very ignore the first GPS for the first few miles. Enjoy, grind out the grind. It's like the Brooklyn 5 mile grind through Brooklyn, but actually really nicely supported. The hoods is awesome.
Hmm.
Just be patient when you're running through mile 18 into the university area because that's the bit where it gets quiet.
Hug a
Then don't
dog.
don't you hug a dog. Get your eye stink stung through the biofreeze thing in
Yeah.
Chinatown, and then don't go chasing the switchback, and you'll be home. It's such a kind course.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
so
so
excited for
excited.
people
Yeah,
running. It
yeah,
really is a fantastic race. It was a big
yeah,
highlight of mine of the majors. And have a fantastic weekend. Again, I would listen to that episode 104 because we go into quite a lot of detail for Chicago actually because we went to some really great places to eat.
yeah,
Also some gluten-free places that I had to eat at the time. So lots of recommendations there. Something new to this year's lot of majors that we're filming as well. I'm putting like a guide. A lot of you really appreciated that for Berlin. I'll do the same for Chicago. That basically just puts a lot of what we said in this episode in writing as well. And I'll make sure I put those
yeah.
suggestions, the food places in there as well. So yeah, that is sums up Chicago, really. Anything we've forgotten? I think
No,
that's all.
I think it was pretty.
Maybe
We
the
always say,
one, maybe the one thing is medal engraving. I know you've got a
yeah.
good
I
tip for
think
that.
you need to look out for where the medal engraving was. I mean, last year I was like, I just didn't have the time to read up where everything was, but have a look at the local have a look at the local guide and ask around because I found out that Lululemon was doing it, but
I
it was
think
like
Nike's
only
done it
till
one year. It sort
Nike
of
did it one
changes
year.
around. Yeah,
The first year I did it, actually, I got it done at Under Armour, funnily
I
enough.
remember. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I can't
remember.
show you it because my medal's in a blooming frame.
Break the glass. Um, but for the engraving, it is possible, and some places might even do it for free. But like Yumi says, it can kind of move around, and sometimes there's even multiple places. So have a little
Yeah,
look. But that is our
yeah.
Chicago top up.
You know what? I love doing these because we just end up, we can't help ourselves. We end up going into a load of detail because we're just so excited about the race. But
Every year we're like, just a little episode, and it's longer than the others. Um, But one thing I did want to say, it's not Chicago specific, but a lot of questions I've been asked lately, a lot of talk was, and we said we'd talk about it before we started the episode, was in terms of completing the six majors. They've obviously
Mm,
added in Sydney now, and then we've just in the gap between the episodes, we've obviously had the reveal about Boston and who's qualified for it.
yeah.
A lot of people, unfortunately, just missed out on the time again, even though they technically made the time. And a lot of people, questioning how do we solve that? Did Boston keep the star? Did that? I'm interested to know your thoughts on this, Yumi.
Do you know what? I think there's a load of heritage that comes to Boston because it is the oldest road marathon, your modern marathon. You have to go back to the original marathon in Greece to find one older.
I did
You
that
know,
one. It's iconic. Yeah.
so I think that you know, look, Boston has that heritage, and you see it as the OG of the races. So it'd be a shame if it wasn't part of the six majors or the seven majors or the majors program on one of the six original. I keep saying original legacy races, but it is a challenge because they keep moving the goalposts every year, and there's so many people who work so damn hard to get their qualification time, and they find that when they apply the curve, they miss out by X number of minutes, 4.5 minutes, I think it was, that was the additional time you needed to be under the benchmark time in order to qualify. You thought you'd all this time you've run a BQ, but actually nothing confirmed until you've actually got a race entry confirmed. In my thought on this is maybe they should actually just set a more challenging time,
Hmm.
right? And be more honest with. I think it's unfair to runners to keep everyone hanging on. Like, I understand they need to put a maximum cap on the runners. And with 35,000 runners and 36,000 runners, I think now, it's actually, you find that's actually a lot of space on the road.
Hmm.
And the race experience is actually really, really nice.
Which
You go,
again, that's where the challenge is, right? Because you could think, oh, do we have more room? But then if you get to run it, you have a great experience because they've been sensible,
because there's more room. And if I think
Yeah.
about Berlin last year, it wasn't as bad this year, but last year when you had the 55,000 runners, and there were 55,000 runners this year, but maybe they spaced out the crowds a bit better. I found congestion, but it wasn't as congested as last year. And Berlin last year really, really put me off because it was too busy
Yeah.
and so congested. So
People said the same about London.
and we were talking about London when we ran London.
Mhm.
Should they restrict the field? But it's a balance between being really inclusive and opening it up to everyone, and not being elitist. And Boston's got carries this reputation for being a bit more elitist because there's so many qualified runners.
Yeah.
But maybe it's a case of they have to split the event to say there's a qualified event maybe, and then
Yeah.
run a mass participation event. I know there's rumors about London doing that in a few years' time. But I think it's unfair for runners to think they've got a Boston qualified time only to find that actually it's heartbreaking when they've got another season to run that 4 minutes faster or whatever the curve is going to be unknown to them at the time, in the following year.
I
What's your
agree.
view on how they can fix this problem?
So my thoughts, one, I think regard whatever they do, I agree with what you're saying. I think that would be fairer for the fast runners. I think the other controversy with Boston is the fact that, Abbott have been doing such a good job to open it up, try and make it running accessible to everyone, right? Be more mindful of slower runners, middle pack runners, right? And we've seen that with changes to the finish times, everything. My thing is, we're currently at 7 majors. The plan is to eventually be nine, right?
Nine.
And the plan is to have a 6-star medal, 9-star medal. My idea, and I feel like it's accessible to do, is you have to, I appreciate there's thoughts going to have to be around the medal, but you actually can, like a pick a mix, you run a combination of 6 of the races to get
Yeah.
your 6-star medal. I
Yeah.
think to me that's the only way to solve it, in that it kind of keeps as many people happy as possible. If you want Boston to be part of your six, make that part of your six,
Yeah.
right? Because there's going to be a lot of people, right? If you took Boston away, they'd be like, well, that's not fair. I want the original one. Or if you changed it and said, right, actually, Boston's part of the nine and Sydney's part of the six, I think there would be a lot of
Yeah.
upset. I think this way allows everyone to still do the qualifiers, do the thing. However, there's
Mm.
more options, it's more accessible for people to maybe run another race.
So what you're saying effectively is you can run any six of the nine when they eventually have nine, and that you'd get your 6-star
You
medal.
get your
Yeah,
6-star
okay.
medal.
And then you,
And the way, like, one thing, the obvious thing about that with people who like, but what would you do with the medal, right? Because the medal's
yeah,
made. But that
yeah,
could be almost you get a piece of the medal for each one, and then it
yeah,
comes together. That's going to take some thought. But my thing there is it makes it way more accessible. If you want to still have Boston, right, because it's iconic and you want
yeah,
to,
yeah,
you can. But also, I think actually it opens up and also it actually will spread the
yeah,
entries across the nine, which makes it a bit easier for all of the races. I also think it gives a good incentive for people to run some of the newer races. I think a lot of people
yeah.
run the six and think, I'm done, I'm not going to carry on and do the nine as well. There will be lots of people that do too. I just think that way you get to keep Boston. It keeps, if you want to go for that and have that experience, you can. Nobody's stopping
I,
you. It can also
look,
still be part of your nine, but it just
yeah.
opens things up.
I think that's not a bad idea, but I think that you then get the same problem when it gets to nine because you still need to do Boston to get to nine.
I agree, but
It's not
it's
like you
kind of
can
like
do,
is a lot anyway, right? And it's
yeah,
it's it's a bigger challenge, right? Nine is bigger than
yeah,
six, but I think the way it is at the moment, so many people are spending so much money, so much time, so many years trying to get
mm,
Boston that by the time they get the six, they're like, I'm not actually going to do the nine because they're like, I'm finishing at six.
yeah.
I think the other way round,
I
potentially.
I think this is a episode in itself,
Yes.
Meg.
It's I just as we were like every episode gets longer, I opened up a can of worms. But I
You
wanted to
did.
bring it up because I've been asked about it so much recently.
Let's do a separate episode on it. I think it's worth
I think so.
talking about and a wider subject of inclusivity because one thing that, both Diger and I noticed on races recently is, Berlin and Sydney, you get to the end and, you know, all the massage stations are all packed up. Everyone's, they're not catering for the if you're going to be more inclusive, then get these recovery stations open for longer.
100%.
So let's talk about inclusivity in running, and let's do it as a separate episode in
Let's do
terms
that.
of
Right, we're going
yeah,
to put it here. We're going to own that.
yeah,
So after New York, there'll be a big old gap before we have Tokyo in the new year. So sometime between that big old gap, I'm game if Yumi is. We will
yeah,
do a episode about inclusivity. So if you're listening to this episode, message one of us. I'll put the details in the thing. Send us your thoughts on the whole inclusivity thing, what you think's going well, what's not. We will bring up these different messages and things,
yeah.
and we will discuss it in the big
Let's
episode.
do it.
Let's do it. Okay, so that is our roundup though for Chicago. Hopefully it's been helpful. We get a PB every time. The episodes get longer and longer. I will say though, Chicago is the front runner
Yeah,
in that main big episode. It was one of our longest.
yeah,
I get the stats for that. Still, people have listened to that episode about 6 times each.
yeah,
So you must be listening to it on repeat on your long runs. So thank you so much for everyone who does listen.
yeah.
I know it sounds like this is going to be another long one. Let's see if we break the record.
Really grateful for everyone's support on this.
Yeah,
Really, really
so
grateful.
much. And so many people messaged both myself or Yimi or reached out to Yimi to say, can we do this episode? And we appreciate it every time. And it really does come a place from our hearts, just giving back to the running community. And what we hopefully you can hear like the stories we've had, the friendship we've had. We've had such amazing
Yeah,
experiences on these races. It really is a privilege. And we really want you to go out and have your own adventures and just make the most of the experience. It's not
that's
ones
it.
that everyone gets to have. So just absolutely soak it up.
Good luck, everyone. I'll see you out on the course. Run well, run safe. Give us a high five or come over for a hug and a selfie. Don't be shy.
It's not in the bushes
Just not in the bushes.
or
Exactly
the
right.
toilet. All right. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you soon.